Hello, good evening and welcome to week 3 of the English broadcast of the Overwatch Pacific Championship. I'm AVRL. Joined with me tonight is Easy as we clean up the final week of round robins in round robin number 1 out of 4.
What a journey it's been. Obviously seen a lot of improvements coming out from some of these teams and some of them falling off the wagon a little bit here, but tonight we get to see if Flash Wolves can keep their dominance in their first back-to-back.
And interesting as well to see if Hong Kong Attitude can kind of keep their dominance a little bit as well, because they've been ones that have really been picking up.
And here we get to have a look at Team Fireball stepping up to the plate now.
Our first matchup is going to be Flash Wolves versus Fireball.
Stronger every time we've sort of seen them as well, but it's going to be Flash Wolves here first.
Yeah, Flash Wolves have had a really good run, apart from a little bit of a, which I can't even say it's a hiccup, but they had kind of a tough run against Blank. But let's see what Fireball can do about that. There it is, Fireball as well. And they've had a really interesting run in the tournament so far. They've beaten Machi, they've beaten Detonator now. This is going to be their final test in the first round robin. I think, you know, they're still going to be falling sort of below Hong Kong Attitude. They're not going to be in that top 4 spot, but I think Fireball will have the real possibility of still maintaining a 5th kind of position on the tables.
Definitely, and I think one of the big things to sort of note there as well is that they've come off losses, and you know, being a team that once you've been down for a certain amount of time, you know, you have to deal with, you know, coming off the back foot. You know, Blank have, for example, you know, they haven't dropped a match, and you know, as we progress into the tournament and teams sort of start to improve and really start giving them a run for their money, it's a skill in itself to obviously be able to deal with, you know, losing, being behind in a series and being able to come back from that. And so Fireball, you know, since they've been in a couple of tough situations and have really sort of turned, I feel, you know, their team around as a whole, you know, they look stronger and stronger week in and week out. Yeah. This is going to be a real good test for them tonight here.
And so, you know, for Flash Wolves as well, they're currently sitting at number 3, so this is a bit of a catch-up for them. They're 2 matches behind everyone else. So have a look at the standings. Got Blank at number 1, 6-0, having only dropped 4 maps in the entirety of the tournament. They're going to be playing their final game tonight as well, and that's going to be against Sun Sister later on, and you got to say that's very heavily favoured towards Blank. So kind of expecting a 7-0 clean sweep run through the first round robin.
Yeah, the odds are definitely not in Sun Sister's favour for that, but they are playing back-to-back tonight, and they are coming up against their sister team and the likes of Detonator Gold after that one. So both of those Japanese teams, they're currently sitting on 0 wins, so it's going to be very interesting to see which one of these teams. There's a little bit of rivalry between the two, so exciting to see which one of those come out on top.
Yeah, I don't know. For anyone that caught yesterday's games as well, Sun Sister had a ridiculous run. I mean, they played Flash Wolves. Yes, they struggled, but wow, they stepped it up incredibly, especially XQ, the McCree player, was unbelievable. I'm sure there's already clips out there of the highlights, but that was just something else. I think the correct term would be, oh, Nelly.
Well, if you haven't caught the clip, make sure you check out Avral's Twitter, @I'mAvril, because it's definitely on there. Look at him with his humble. I bet there's clips out there. There definitely is clips out there. I got to catch that.
There's people that people have. That's a highlight. I'm sure if you check out Blizzard East Stadium's Facebook as well, they put up a lot of great clips from highlights of different matches. But
humble.
You know, Sun Sister had a really great showing last time, and Pixie kind of said, where has this guy been for the last 2 weeks? He's been a sub for Sun Sister. He's been a backup. You almost think after that performance, the guy should be a starter. I mean, Sun Sister had arguably their best shot so far against Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves, yeah, they won, but Sun Sister had a great showing, but we're going to get to Flash Wolves versus Fireball instead. Let's take a look at the Flash Wolves lineup. Of course, we are still going to be looking at Zonda and Bacon Jake on the offense. What a great combo that is. Jongi and K-Momo are going to be the 2 tanks, Sinclair and Realmint will be the supports.
Yeah, and on the side of Fireball there, Apudo and NZR definitely been turning up on the offense side themselves there. Zelfix and Zelfix going to be the tank there, Kurlos and Rocket on the support, and Ninth being that flex player there. But we saw Rocket go on the Winston the other night, and I mean, what an absolute showing that was from him. Definitely showing he himself is quite a flexible player, and definitely one of the better Winston players around from what I've seen. That sort of change coming out from Fireball definitely worked out in their favor. And I mean, maybe that's going to work out for them coming up against Flash Wolves.
Yeah, at Fireball, they've been experimenting with their lineup quite a bit now, and I think they've finally found something that really works. Zelfix did mention in one of the post-match interviews he wasn't quite comfortable on the Winston role, but he could play the Reinhardt now. For Rocket, doesn't play a Reinhardt, but does play a Winston. And they also both play Lucio, so they've sort of been swapping up their lineup a little bit to make it work, and now they are playing a lot more dive, and in playing that dive, they're mostly putting Rocket onto the Winston, and that's been the composition I'd say that's been the most successful for Fireball. And I would expect them to sort of go against. I think Apudo's he's a little bit scared of going up against Flash Wolves tonight. Big scary Zonda on the other side.
They've got the top sort of pre-match rituals here, these guys. They did the little, I don't know if you caught that one yesterday, the little fusion dance they did there. Little love heart, maybe it was.
No,
I was like, I've got to use a hand as well. We're not on the camera,
true.
but that's all right. We're just powering up as well.
When you get there, we'll get to the next level pretty soon. Still a tough road ahead. I have to just check one other thing as well. It is going to be Flash Wolves on the home side for both of these matches that they've got back-to-back. Doesn't make things any easier for Fireball. I think, Fireball realistically come into this as the underdogs. They come in a little bit unfavored. In fact, I'd say they come in rather unfavored, so any advantage they could get would have probably have been quite nice.
I also, though, feel that Fireball are quite a momentum-based team. Flash Wolves are a very solid team looking so far. But if Fireball can sort of get some momentum rolling and, maybe steal the first map away from Flash Wolves, I think that'll really start making them sweat a little bit there. And that's where they're going to be able to sort of start performing coming off the back of maybe taking control, because I think control is where they have the strongest showing.
I think they would need to seriously run Apudo Genji plus Inzinana on a Tracer, and then play Rocket Winston and go for the dive as well. It'd be difficult to play dive against such a great dive team like Flash Wolves, but really that's Fireball's best shot. I'm just going to put it out there. I think Fireball's best opportunity to really do anything against Flash Wolves will be to try and play dive as well. And although I still don't think it's as strong as Flash Wolves dive, anything else that Fireball so far has done kind of falls short.
I mean, in the interview yesterday, NZNR sort of spoke about how Farah is actually his favorite hero. And I mean, I don't think we got to see him use it at all in recent times so far. Especially yesterday, he was playing a lot of that Tracer, a lot of the, he played a Widowmaker as well. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that stacks up, obviously, against the likes of Zonda, because I feel in that matchup there, he's obviously going to be outclassed coming up against Zonda. Maybe if they sort of went for the, counter dive, maybe go for a McCree there on a Apudo, that might work out maybe in their favor, sort of, play the old bait-in game.
It's possible. I mean, you'd have to be extremely on point. You'd have to be on point, as on point as XQ was on last night on McCree for Lee Jung Tao to sort of be in effect. And even then, Sun Sister, they pulled out all the stops, and it kind of still wasn't enough to kind of go over the tide of Flash Wolves. So although I believe Fireball is still definitely the upper of the bottom four teams, they're currently in the 5th position. For them, I don't know. I feel like NZNR has been most impactful on Tracer. And so that's a lot of the games that they have been winning, I feel, were kind of on the back of NZNR's Tracer, as well as Apudo. But, NZNR himself, that's where he's been really, really good. And his Pharah has been sort of hit or miss, but Tracer's been quite consistent.
Yeah, because there was obviously that first control map they played yesterday. And Apudo went on the Tracer and they dropped 2 maps, and then they put NZNR back on the Tracer and reverse sweep them. And so that there obviously shows, NZNR's playstyle, maybe it was just in the matchup that they were having, but the playstyle of NZNR's Tracer just generally works out better. I think one thing to note going into this is Flash Wolves, I feel like they underestimate their opponents a lot of the time. I feel like Blank was a big example of that. I mean, maybe we can't be too sure. Obviously, they might have given them the respect that they deserved, but it looks like, they definitely underestimated them, and that came back to bite them on the behind.
Yeah, I think you still have to give a reasonable amount of respect to all the teams all the teams that you have to play against. So, and case in point, being Flash Wolves versus Sun Sister again, you underestimate them a little bit. They do give you that pushback. So Flash Wolves, that was probably a very important lesson for them. They can't now, going up against Fireball, I feel they also have to give a little bit of respect to Fireball and understand that there is a possibility that if Flash Wolves mess up, if they make the mistakes, Fireball will come and punish, and the first map is going to be Oasis, so it is going to be a rather fairer, kind of friendly map. That kind of works more in Flash Wolves' favor, I feel.
I'd definitely say it works in their favor there. There was, again, in the interview yesterday, NZNR sort of spoke about how the reason why they sort of picked Ilios and how they want that to be their special little map. If Flash Wolves weren't respecting them, I feel like they might have picked Ilios there just to sort of take it to them on Fireball's home court there, but again...
Flash Wolves want to win. I don't know if they want to risk that, so still playing quite calculated. Their strategic map pick's going to... That's the other thing. Fireball have been, I believe, the only team that have picked Ilios so far. They picked it twice now. There's a good reason they're doing that, because they're probably feeling quite confident, and Flash Wolves, they're not going to give their opponents a good map for them, so understandably, so it's going to be Oasis.
I mean, the other thing as well
But
is...
at least it's not Lijiang Tower.
The fan favorite indeed. I mean, a lot of these teams, they do fall back onto that Lijiang Tower. It is, I guess, the go-to when it comes to control, same with sort of Kings Row being that go-to hybrid map as well. It's exciting to see. I really like the format of this tournament, the way that they sort of are forced to pick, especially on map 3, the assault maps there, because generally we don't get to see them played too often. So it really sort of forces these teams, to have those, I guess, those strategies in place for those styles of maps as well there.
And assault has been where a decent number of the upsets have happened. It's hard to even say they're upsets, but a decent number of where the swings...
The less favoured team has a chance.
I wouldn't even say less favoured, just where the swings have kind of happened. There hasn't been... One team will win control and then hybrid, and then assault is usually like, this is going to be the map. This is the map where the other team will probably get one back, and so far assault has been the map where the opposite team that hasn't been winning so far in the series does manage to pick one up, if at all. So assault has been rather interesting so far. We've seen a reasonable equal number of the different maps picked. I don't think there's been one particular assault map that's come out on top over the others. I think they've all had a reasonably equal amount of playtime.
I'd say you are correct there as well. I really like, I guess, the Volskaya, pick coming through. That's really, I guess, my general sort of favorite there. It looks like that's the one where teams really get the best shot at, getting to go against each other. Anubis can sometimes be over very quickly. We haven't seen, I think there's only been one map where that momentum's come off point 1 and they've capped point 2 very, very quickly. I think it was in the Flash Wolves game. I think they did that. But other than that, that sort of seems to be the map that has a little bit of the, I guess, the most drawn out sort of fights compared to the other ones. I guess we have seen Anubis go to Time Bank a couple of times as well. So
yeah, we have. I think I've quite enjoyed Hanamura, particularly.
I guess that's obviously the favorite.
Not a fan of the opening entrance doorway. I think it's a bit restrictive. But aside from that, the rest of the map I feel is quite. Particularly the second point is really interesting, as it kind of has a lot of depth to what you can really do with the place. So that's been a really interesting map to look at, and. Definitely been a few reverse games and a couple of upsets there as well. So, in terms of Oasis, though, the reason I feel Flash Wolves is kind of favoured here is I do expect the possibility that Zonda does go fair on this, and if NZNR goes fair as well, I just don't see him sort of playing on par with Zonda. Even if they both do go for the aerial duels, I kind of do expect Zonda to come out on top. This is Zonda who's so far in the tournament beaten every other Pharaoh in those aerial duels.
I mean, I feel when it comes to the two DPS players on this team, this is where they're quite evenly matched here. Apudo and NZNR, very strong players themselves. And getting straight into this one, it is going to be Zonda on the Pharaoh himself there. It's actually NZNR on the Tracer, so a lot of this is going to fall on Apudo to deal with him. But Zonda getting a lot of damage straight into the side of Fireball to start this one off. Fireball looking to get quite deathbally up there on the high ground, but Momo going to find that first kill onto Kurlos. Bacon Jack going to be picking up the second one now as well. Ninth probably going to be falling back here, trying to do a little work staggering, seeing if NZNR can do any work in the back lines here. Apudo still keeping himself safe, but probably won't be able to find enough damage here. As Zonda picks up Zalfix as well. And Apudo needs to fall back here very quickly with NZNR as well, try and keep themselves alive. And Flashfall's going to be picking up the first cap of the point.
And that was all coming down to positioning. You see the way Flashfalls completely dominated that upper archway area. Zonda in the skies as well, just the area damage coming out. I didn't even see where Apudo was because he was so pressured. He couldn't get any damage onto Zonda. I know exactly why he picked Soldier, but so far, he hasn't pressured Zonda at all, and it's not really because of him, but his team needs to be able to get some better position to enable him to get that damage.
Yeah, Pudo definitely needs to get up on the high ground if he wants to really make this work. Or he can find the Helix rocket into Bacon Jack. The mech going to go down there as well, but the barrage coming in from Zonda.
That's the kill what Pudo wanted.
Does manage to pick up 2 of the supports with that one, but now without Zonda here to control the skies, this is when Fireball should be able to push their way in and get a lot of damage done to the side of Flash Wolves. Time is ticking though, 37% on the clock there for Flash Wolves, and Apudo now picking up the Mercy there as well, but now Bacon Jack going to be back, and he is going to be getting things crispy here for the side of Flash Wolves.
This is really interesting because Flash Wolves still managed to hold it onto that. Well, Fireball got all the important picks. Yeah, they lost a couple of members, but I feel like they got the better picks overall out of that, and somehow they still didn't manage to secure themselves the cap. Apudo even decided to go onto the high ground himself, but without any support, he just couldn't last on there. Now 60% ultimates in favor of Flash Wolves. Fireball are in a bit of trouble.
Oh, Apudo needs to come up with something big, and he's getting pressured out instantly right now.
I don't see him
and
surviving.
He's gone as well. Jongi going to be the one to finish that one off. Zonda found a few rockets into his face here as well, and then Zonda just picks up Kurlos over the side as well. And look at this, all over the point right now. Flash Wolves not even breaking a sweat, holding this one down. And Fireball, pressure is high for them right now, 83% for Flash Wolves, and Fireball really can't find an opening into this one. NZNR getting pushed back here as well, so it's going to have to be the biggest push of Fireball's life right now.
Well, the opening they might need is the 5 ultimates they have in hand. If Sinclair goes down, that's a big deal. That's not going to be any res coming up anytime soon. Attack Visor should be following. There it is, and a nano boost as well. They need a couple more kills because we're already into the overtime, and Zonda is still running free.
Oh, but Apudo is cleaning house right now, picking himself up here, and that's what Fireball need to get themselves onto the point. They managed to get the cap now, and they are in control, but 99% for for Flash Wolves, sorry. They're going to have to do a lot of work to play catch-up here. The ultimates, you know, they can just save them up here on Flash Wolves. They can manage to drop the next fight, and then still have enough time to push themselves back into this one and take it off Fireball.
Yeah, Flash Wolves need to be a little bit reserved here. They can afford to wait for a res play. They don't have to use any ultimates they currently have, so that's just Primal Rage, I guess. Bait out a couple ultimates on the Fireball side. Don't be risky here, but Flash Wolves got a decent amount of time to work with.
Well, Pudo got a nice position here, and he gets pressured instantly. Zonda trying to come around the backside and explode him off the map here. Doesn't manage to find the kill. And now it's going to be Zonda again, just trying to take down NZNR.
I see the Pulse Bomb already coming up from Bacon Jack, so this is actually going to be a pretty decent commit. Rocket Barrage as well to follow, and Flash Wolves look like they're going to do a massive cleanup of Fireball, who have nothing left to use. There goes the cap. Overtime ticker ticks down, and not a single Fireball member left on the cap.
Well, burnt out there a little bit in map number 1. Fireball not even able to keep that overtime alive there. And Flash Wolves, you know, they didn't really even have to throw too many fights in that. They just bit back instantly.
Well, the thing is, as soon as Bacon Jack got the initial kill, they sort of just got the conversions on, they just kept the snowball rolling, built up the momentum, and at that sort of stage, it was testing the waters, turning into, hey, we can actually win this, into a full commit, and they actually managed to get it. So, you know, power to Flash Wolves if they have the ability to win it on the spot, absolutely.
I mean, I'd like to see now maybe the Farah come out from the side of Fireball, see if they can really contest.
It's going to be McCree, NZNR.
Oh, I like that actually.
Rocket's on Reinhardt,
so
there. This is weird. I think is Rocket fully transitioning off the tank now? This is something new from Fireball. We haven't seen Rocket on Reinhardt as far as I know.
Yeah, Zalfix played a lot of Lucio yesterday, and it looks like they're going to be keeping him on that one. Jongi going for the Reinhardt there as well, so it's going to be Zonda there on the Zarya. So Zarya making her way into this one. Ninth as well, going to be the counterpart in this exchange here. Now Rocket getting a little bit of damage up at the front lines, and Fireball already getting pushed back off the point here. Flash Wolves getting themselves a bit better position, I'd say. Looks like Bacon Jack just trying to get around the back here in the flank, but Apudo as well, trying to do the same thing there. Nice little bit of a reflect. Getting a bit of damage done there. Jongi dropping extremely low, does manage to stay alive. Indeed, yes he does. And now Fireball, this might be their moment to answer back and push their way in.
Rocket's getting fairly aggressive, does pick up Bacon Jack, and now it's going to be Fireball trying to get the kills, and Jongi is the only one who managed to get a trade, and he's getting a lot of trades. That's 4 in a row for Jongi so far, and he's still alive. Apudo wants to get in there, and Ninth finally shuts him down, but wow, he got so many kills for Flash Wolves. I don't know if Fireball can take this first fight anymore.
Apudo's got that Dragon Blade, gonna have to fall back here. Does manage to escape just with 5 HP left there. The rest of the team coming back now as well. This Dragon Blade could be the turn of the tide for Fireball, but Flash Wolves do get their first cap there, 10%. It's going to be a Pudo going to have to push in here. They do have the Deadeye to work with as well. Nearly get the Nano Boost, so they might actually wait for that one as well. They do have the Sound Barrier to work with. A lot better ultimate advantage there on the side of Fireball to work with in this next fight.
Should be a full commit coming out. Bacon Jack already picking down Inzina. Is not really going to help here. However, still, it is going to be the Dragon Blade that's doing the majority of the work, and Flash Wolves, not a lot of response here. Bacon Jack, kind of the only real player to defend, goes down. The best thing for Fireball is they only had to use 2 ultimates, and they got enough that Flash Wolves are actually completely empty aside from 1 ultimate.
Yeah, well, Fireball heating up now, looking very good in this here. Good ultimate rotation coming out of that last fight. Flash Wolves got a lot of work to do here to build up some of these ultimates of their own. They've got a Sound Barrier to work with, waiting for Zonda's Graviton Surger as well. But Knight's got the Graviton of his own. Sound Barrier coming in, and there comes the Graviton into the charge from Rocket, straight through the middle. The Biotic Grenade, though, coming in on a Pudo. Will they be able to take him down? He's been extremely elusive right now while the rest of his team are dropping here. Flash Wolves going to be forced back, but Zhongi going to be charging straight in up the front lines now. Bacon Jack looking to set up on the flank position as well, seeing what he can find with that Pulse Bomb. Nano Boost coming in as well. There's the grab. Nice sleep there as well. It won't be enough though. Zhongi doing so much work here, and that Pulse Bomb just wiping Fireball out, and Flash Wolves get the cap back.
Fireball should not have lost that fight. They had about 4 ultimates that they committed and only got themselves about 2 kills, so that's really not enough at all. If they had gotten themselves more kills, especially they landed the Earth Shatter. I'm not too sure why the follow-up wasn't a little bit quicker. Their follow-up ended up being a Graviton Surge. That's okay as well, but still they couldn't get past Zhongi. Zhongi kept his shield up. They had no way to deal the damage necessary. And the counterplay from Flash Wolves is just too much for Fireball to handle.
Well, Pudo going to have the Blade again. Going to need another big hero play coming out of him into this next fight. Kurlos almost dropping down there. Earthshatter coming through. Not connecting with anything. Zhongi not going to be happy with that one. And now see if Pudo is going to connect with... answer with the Blade, but with Inzina down, it looks like they're going to be forced to fall back yet again. Zhongi being extremely aggressive here on this Reinhardt with the rest of Flash Wolves by his side.
And they've managed to keep themselves in the game despite blowing up the Earthshatter. Bacon Jack does get Kurlos in the time being. 83%. Fireball might just have to wait a little bit for the respawns to come in, but when they finally do, will definitely be into the 90s. They can't afford to bleed any more players because Flash Wolves are going to get aggressive here, and soon Fireball, they're not going to have any opportunity to get back on the point.
Oh, good reads here by Zonda and the rest of Flash Wolves catching a Pudo around the side there. He's dropping extremely low. He gets taken out. Doesn't even use the Dragon Blade. Overtime ticking down. Can Fireball even get on the point? No, they can't. Flash Wolves picking up map number 2 very convincingly.
It was just those final few pickups from Flash Wolves right at the end there around the 85-ish kind of mark. They just got a few kills in a row, and those kills made all the difference because that's the critical moment when Fireball needed to regroup again. That's a critical moment when Fireball needed to actually make their push. They needed all the time they had. They had the ultimates actually. I think they were at an advantage. If they had made the push here without losing their members, they might have actually been fine. But because it all started with, I believe, Bacon Jack got the Pulse Bomb kill on Kurlos, and they said, look, they're going to have to wait for the respawn on that one. Then suddenly, another member fell, and then a third member fell, and it all started to fall to pieces for Fireball.
Well, this is going to be
into map 3.
When we see NZNR's Farah coming out there, Kurlos going to be on the Mercy there, so Pharmacy versus Pharmacy coming up in this one. They're going to really need to take it to Zondo because he's been so devastating, I suppose, for the side of Fireball, and that's just creating...
Bacon Jack's been devastating.
Well, Bacon Jack obviously on the on the Tracer, and we see it just there, taking down Mercy, and he even manages to take himself Kurlos.
That's a triple as well for Bacon Jack. And the man is already on 57%. That's been a really quick win for Flash Wolves. And Apudo, you've said this already, but Apudo on the Tracer just hasn't really been up to scratch. Inzina has, I believe, been the better Tracer for Fireball throughout the tournament. And it is starting to show. I'd actually prefer to see Apudo on the Genji here. Or even the McCree.
You read my mind in that one. I mean, McCree actually wouldn't be so bad there because then they could really put a lot of pressure on Zonda's Farah here. I feel like they do manage to get control of the skies and let NZNR just go to work. That's where they're going to have a good showing and a chance to really push into Flash Wolves. But Flash Wolves now 17, 18, 19%, ticking up quickly here.
Early Pulse Bomb as well.
And this should be, again, another fight. Flash Wolves coming through there. Kurlos gets taken down, and now the Farah up in the sky, no support on him. Bacon Jack still holding onto this Pulse Bomb. Probably won't even need to commit it in this fight as Zonda takes down his counterpart NZNR up in the sky as well. And Fireball just looking split up here and just forced to fall back again. Rocket left by himself on the point. He's going to drop there as well. Apudo just a little bit late to the party as well, and he's just forced over to the jump pad.
Fireball still finding it difficult to get an opening. I said this before, but NZNR on the Farah. I don't think he steps up against Zonda on the Farah. It is starting to show. So Apudo on the Tracer. hasn't stepped up against Bacon Jack on the Tracer. This is almost like watching AHQ versus Flash Wolves on day one again. So the DPSs on those particular roles, on those particular heroes, are not able to beat the same counterparts on the other side.
Well, Pudo switching up to the Soldier, see if that can change anything, but with those 4 ultimates the Flash Wolves are holding on to, almost about to be 5 there with Jongi almost getting his final Rage. Pulse Bomb coming out there, doesn't find too much with it, but Zonda getting himself a very quick kill there, already opening it up for the side of Flash Wolves. Realman going to be taking down his counterpart Lucio there as well. NZNR does manage to find Sinclair, but Bacon Jack going to be taking down his support, and the Farah as well. Jongi jumping straight in as well, just pushing the side of Fireball back, making them retreat yet again. And look at this, they're going to have to get really aggressive here now. They managed to find that kill onto a Pudo. 86%. If they just push in now and just get aggressive, keep them in the spawn, Fireball can't even answer back.
And there's 5 ultimates as well. This time Fireball are not even at an advantage. There's Mercy Res on both sides. I don't see any way that Fireball can get past all of these ultimates. And Zonda still kept alive despite all of the counterplay coming from Fireball. And the Res just coming in time to save him as well. Overtime now ticking through. Most of the ultimates on both sides are now gone. No more res to play either.
Well, Zonda's spent about, I'd say about 3 seconds dead in this entire match. Can they manage to get him in the spawn? They do finally manage to take him down. This is going to be Fireball's moment here. Still got the Primal Rage and the Self-Destruct to work with. Apuda almost getting the Tac Visor as well. Momo got a Self-Destruct of his own, but I don't think that's going to be enough to let Flash Wolves hold on to this. They're going to need some huge hero plays. Jongi goes down there to Apudo's Helix Rocket, and Fireball looking good on this next cap. Can they manage to hold this one out and keep the match going here? There goes the mech. Momo's down as well, and Fireball going to get this cap back.
Last minute, sort of just getting it back in the nick of time. This is kind of like City Centre as Gardens all over again, actually. So,
but will it be a little bit too late?
2 ultimates to work with as well, but for Flash Wolves, they don't have to, again, they don't really have to commit to this if they don't want to. In fact, they don't really have any ultimates anyway to commit. This should be a fight where they're looking to primarily get ult charge, but if they can get a kill in Zena like they did, and then maybe secure one onto Pudo, they might just be able to win it here.
I mean, Apudo hits the attack visor there, manages to take down Bacon Jack, but Realman will take him down there.
That's 3 kills.
And I mean, Realman and Bacon Jack in the back lines here. The duo combo here, we've talked about it before. The DPS Lucio coming in strong here. They deal with the Pharmacy combo. They deal with the Soldier up in the back lines as well. Flash was getting very close to this cap as well. They've got the players here. NZNR and Ninth trying to keep this one alive there. Kurlos back in the fray as well. The cap's getting extremely close. Fireball getting themselves just up to 50%. So much time to work with on the side of Flash Wolves here, and Apudo getting back just in the nick of time.
Getting the kills,
should be able to pick up Sinclair here as well. Realman should be dropping too, and Fireball holding on to this one. Bacon Jack, he's gone as well, and Fireball, when all odds are against him, keeping it alive.
Yeah, the problem here is for Flash Wolves, I did say primarily if they weren't going to be able to cap that, there was going to be an opportunity for them to charge ults, and ults they now have 5 in tow and a 6th coming through as well. And all Fireball have is this Mercy Res. If they can get a lot of mileage out of the Mercy Res, it might just be enough, and Kurlos is going to have to use it pretty soon. There it is.
And the team is a little bit split up there as well. You know, if they did manage to group up, that Res could have been a lot bigger. Pulse Bomb coming through, going to be taking out the likes of Rocket there as well. Momo finding Apudo over the other side there as well. And now Zonda very muchly uncontested here, trying to find himself a Diva mech also. You can fly, but I can fly better than you. And he's all over Ninth right now. Ninth trying to keep this one alive for the likes of Fireball. Overtime going to be ticking down here. And what can any of the Fireball players do? They do manage to get themselves back into this one, and that's going to be NZNR exploded as well. The Primal Raging Winston on the point, just holding this one alive for Fireball right now, but Rocket...
Fireball got ults, actually. There's a possibility they come back into this if Pudo gets all the kills.
Well, the Sound Barrier coming in and the Attack Visor as well. Is there anything coming up here for the side of Fireball, though? It looks like Bacon Jack's going to be the first one to find that kill. And nice defensive play there coming up from the side of Flash Wolves. Not really taking too many deaths to these ultimates that are coming through. And all the kills coming up Flash Wolves' way now. This one's getting going down to the wire, an extremely long overtime. But look how quickly it ticks away, just like Fireball's hopes at picking up map number 1.
Gotta give credit to Fireball. They're going 99 to 99%. They want to fight where we kind of didn't expect them to, but at the same time, did you know Zonda played Zion?
Yeah, map 2. This was that counter graviton surge after that fight. They should have won. 100 charge and booms them. I mean, it was their double pulse bomb that really did the job.
I personally kind of felt Bacon Jack was a bigger, kind of probably my MVP of Oasis. He, particularly on City Centre, in those early stages, the 4 kills in a row, completely soloed a pharmacy combo. I mean, he wouldn't have soloed, he would have had damage support from somewhere, but picks up both the kills in a pharmacy combo as a tracer. That's not an easy thing to do at all. So, guy was on a, he was killing a Pudo as well. He really set the tone for City Centre.
I mean, there's one thing we sort of talked about. There's the play of the game, and then there's the real play of the game.
There's the play game, then there's the play of the game.
The real play of the game. And the other thing as well to note there is that when Bacon Jack, he actually had Realmint with him a lot of the time on that Lucio. So if Bacon Jack didn't actually finish off a lot of the kills, Realmint was there to actually finish it up. So
he did do that a couple of times.
It was honestly, Lucio was putting in, I feel, a lot of the damage onto that pharmacy combo. Bacon Jack looked like he was taking a lot of the kills there, but I mean, there was that one where Bacon Jack falls down, on the last map there, and Realmint was there to sort of finish up the pharmacy combo just with the...
And this is how I like to see teams dealing with the pharmacy combo. It's not up to the Pharah to duel the other Pharah in the sky, because again,
it's a team effort.
That's a huge waste of time because it's a total coin flip. Now, when you actually combine damage with your team, and your Pharah isn't the one trying to shoot the other Pharah, but the rest of your players, especially the hit scan, any hit scanners you've got, even Tracer, but like you said, Tracer with a Lucio, if they can land some shots and just assist in the damage, it might just be enough. And in this case, it absolutely was. They took down an entire combo with that. And for Incident R, it got to the point where I just didn't feel like his Pharah really did enough throughout that entire match. Despite that, Fireball still came really close 99-99. Now, had Incident R been on the Tracer instead, keep Maputo on the Soldier, maybe put him on McCree, maybe even the Genji, who knows. I kind of feel like there could have been an even better game for Fireball.
I think actually as well, if Fireball were to sort of, I mean, we saw Rocket, he's really taken over that tank. It seems like he's really taking the tank position away now. Zalfix going onto the Lucio. I feel like his Lucio is a little bit too passive, especially compared to Realmint's there. It looks like Flash Wolves have really adapted with, the new patch, and they really know how to sort of utilize this new Lucio. I think what they need to sort of look at is seeing if they've got another player that can play the third DPS. So if they can get a different player onto the Pharah, and then they can let NZNR go on his Tracer and then maybe keep a Pudo on Soldier or Genji and do a similar sort of triple DPS that we've seen before. That might be where their sort of playstyle as a team would really shine.
Yeah, I also need to see a little bit more coordination for Fireball from the DPS as well. I think in order to run triple DPS effectively, you need to have this kind of next level focus firing, target calling coordination with all your DPS players to maximize their damage output, particularly on single targets, to really assassinate the other team. And it's why teams that have been together for a long time, like Blank, can effectively coordinate and execute a triple DPS lineup, because their players understand each other so well. Their players understand how they play, where they're going to play, and what they're going to do in a given match. So for a team like Fireball, still really haven't seen enough combo play from NZNR and Apudo for me to really believe they can really execute it well. I mean, you've got teams like Hong Kong Attitude, which have run triple DPS to some degree of success, and you can really start to see the difference as well. They run the same compositions as Blank on a decent number of maps, but the level of execution is definitely on a different level.
Yeah, something we sort of talked about there in those earlier weeks, Fireball feeling a little bit disconnected, really high level of mechanical skill coming out of a lot of the players on their team.
Yeah.
But when it comes to just execution as a whole, that's the one thing that their team is sort of lacking there. And it's surprising because we talked about, 4 of these players played on the Thai World Cup team, and you'd expect maybe a little bit more synergy coming out from them. And I mean, the side of Flash Wolves, it really shows, their level of synergy coming into...
Well, 3 of them did play on the same team.
3?
Together. Yeah, 3. So Bacon Jack, Sinclair, and...
Oh, for the side of Flash Wolves?
Yeah, Bacon Jack, Sinclair, and I'm trying to remember the last one. It might have been K Momo, who did play together on Stay Frosty with, believe it or not, DCR1 from Machi Esports. So those guys all used to be ex-teammates.
I was talking about the side of Fireball, by the way.
Are you talking about? Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, for Flash Wolves,
as a counterpoint,
for Flash Wolves, they have 3 players that have played together as well. But talking about Flash Wolves and why that's kind of relevant is, I do believe their level of team coordination is on a really high level. Just the fact that you're pointing out, if Realmint is backing up Bacon Jack's damage as a Lucio, I mean, they're able to coordinate even their support damage into their DPS damage. I mean, this is when you're really stacking up the focus firing to I guess its potential to really be able to take down these picks, because a Tracer alone would not be able to take down a pharmacy combo. So
unless you're dizzy.
Does he do that?
He did that on Lee Chang Tao. He went 1v2
yes.
against the pharmacy and just
I think he did,
and just demoed them. It was actually your call as well. I was like, oh, he takes down the Mercy, and you're like, he actually just 1v2'd the pharmacy.
I guess that's right, he did. I did say that, that's correct. I remember completely that I said that.
See, I've gone back and watched a lot of the VODs there. Your voice is resonating in my mind.
I do consider Dizzy to be like definitely one of the top DPSs so far that we've seen as well. But unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately, AHQ got no more games. They've completed their entire first round robins, currently sitting at number 2. But for Flash Wolves actually picking up map number 1 against Fireball.
Gonna be feeling good.
I gotta say for Flash Wolves, that still looked really comfortable. And if Flash Wolves pick up both of their games today, both of their matches against Fireball and then Hong Kong Attitude straight after, Flash Wolves are going to be sitting at their number 2 spot instead of HQ. So HQ playing a little bit of spectator today.
Yeah, I feel they're going to be a little bit worried, I suppose, watching that Flash Wolves versus Hong Kong Attitude game if they do manage to pick the win up there. I think that's going to be an extremely tight game. It was something that we saw when Blank came up against Flash Wolves. It was really hard for them to deal with that triple DPS, and I think we'll see HKA go back and lean on that one there, but we are obviously still on the Fireball matchup here. I feel that we talked about it just briefly just before. The synergy really needs to come through for the side of Fireball if they want a chance at really picking this one up. They are going to be picking Numbani, so hopefully this is where we're going to see some of that synergy come out to play for them.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen Fireball pick Numbani before. I think they've picked Kings Row a couple times now. But it is going to be an interesting pick for Fireball. I think this is going to be... the first checkpoint is still kind of Pharaoh related, but I don't see it as a real must pick. Now, if you remember, this is actually when... This is the map that Flash Wolves did that Orisa thing, that regrettable Orisa strat on attack.
Deleted from the game.
Never to be seen again. Who knows, maybe they'll pull it out and they'll be like, okay, we'll use it against Fireball and show people what we were actually trying to do.
I mean, hopefully, it's really nice to, I guess, see some of these new strategies coming out, but I mean, maybe they're really trying to polish this one and save it for the likes of, Hong Kong Attitude, AHQ, Blank, for the next sort of matchup and the next round robin coming through. But this might be, I guess...
show very much against Blank, unfortunately, with that.
Maybe they're like, we just need a little bit more polish on this one. A little bit more polish before we take this one out against Blank. I mean, coming up against Fireball, it could be where they really try to make this one shine. We really haven't seen... Oh, did we see the Tourbillon come up in this from them?
Someone brought the Tourbillon in. It was...
I mean, AHQ love to do it. We know that.
Whose Tourbillon was it that built their turret inside that?
And it just got absolutely demolished.
It just disappeared so quickly.
We just pretended not to see it.
I was like, did he put a turret up?
No.
Was that Flash Wolves against Blank?
He's just playing pure DPS Tourbillon. No turret.
That's when we did see a Tourbillon on this map
yeah.
on defense, but it was just super ineffective. The turret was non-existent. It was just disappeared.
And the other thing as well is that we didn't really talk about it just coming off that last one, is that K Momo's D.Va, yesterday we saw Lazy Titan's D.Va is a very standout D.Va. He's getting a lot of these kills with the self-destruct. Amazing placement when it comes to these. I feel that K Momo, again, he's sort of that D.Va that falls under the radar a little bit. It doesn't look like, he's getting a lot of impact, but his sort of defensive plays to keep the rest of the team alive, when Zonda gets pressured.
Feels like a more defensive player.
Yeah, he's right up there with Zonda, sort of keeping him alive, with that defense matrix. So that's going to be another issue for Fireball. They sort of aren't, I feel, planning a lot of their offenses very well, and they really just fall into Flash Wolves traps.
I think Fireball in general need to be able to sharpen up their team cohesion.
Get some glue, boys. Get some glue.
Yeah, maybe not sharpen up's probably the word, but glue themselves together a little bit harder. I don't really understand what the correct way to sort of go about that is, but that's kind of it. That's kind of what they need. They still look a bit separated. They still look like, I guess, uncoordinated is probably the most accurate word to describe them. There are some moments of greatness, but a lot of them fall back onto, wow, Apudo got a ton of kills. But when that doesn't happen, you don't really see the team make any sort of turnaround play. You don't really see them do the setups, do the long-term planning. It just sort of seems like things happen for Fireball and it looks good, and then sometimes things just don't happen for Fireball at all.
I guess that's what's going to happen, you know, when you sort of change up the players' roles into week 3. You know, Rocket obviously switching over to the tank there. Ninth going to be on the Diva in this one here. And, you know, when Zelfix, your main tank player, has now switched over to full-time Lucio. You know, things are still not going to be meshing extremely quickly here. But Fireball not wasting any time, just walking their way straight up Main Street here. Going to have Bacon Jack up on the high ground in the background, Ninth. And Rocket's going to be jumping straight on top of him. But NZNR gets destroyed there by Zonda up in the back. And now Bacon Jack's going to be able to answer back. He's got support of his own now. And Fireball looking to get pushed off this point. Will they retreat or will they commit? With Rocket down as well, it should be time to fall back.
And this is the problem for Fireball, is they committed both their main tanks into the that back banana area. So they had their 4 other players, 2 DPS and 2 supports, just sort of hanging out in the back on the main street still. And they just kind of got assaulted by the remaining members of Flash Wolves. And even though Rocket and Ninth sort of went in for that huge dive, they met a lot of resistance as well and couldn't clean that up. So on both sides of Fireball's offensive, it kind of fell apart.
I really would have liked to see Rocket and Apudo sort of jump in there and try to go for it, leave Ninth to maybe defend some of these squishier characters, especially when you've got Kurlos on the Zenyatta, who is just taken out there by Zhongi. Apudo does have the blade up, but he's taken out as well by the Bacon Jack. And now Fireball losing these 2 players extremely early on to this one. The mech goes down as well. It's going to be Zelfix taken out as well. And Fireball not even getting much time to retreat here. Flash Wolves looking extremely hungry.
Fireball kind of fought. They even dropped another Chizonda. So I was just going to say, Fireball need to be watching Jets now because they can't afford to give away too many more kills. Because Fireball, Flash Wolves are definitely stacking up those ultimate charges. Already sitting on 2, about to hit 3. Zonda's not that far off either. Fireball, they're probably going to have to wait just a little bit here, just to make sure they get these other 4, well, I guess 5 ultimates that are rather close on their side as well. So probably don't want to push within the next 5 or 10 seconds before they get this charge up. Losing NZNR here is definitely not going to help us, so they have to wait for that respawn.
Zonda
just losing a lot of time.
Zonda showing he's the alpha wolf in this pack here, really opening this one up in almost every single fight we've seen here. NZ are going to be switching off onto the Widow now, seeing if he can find himself an opening. 4 ultimates there for the side of Fireball, but they're going to be walking into the 5 on Flash Wolves. Sinclair should get himself the nano boost here into this next fight as well. So a lot of stuff to work with here on the Flash Wolves side. If they do manage just a simple ultimate rotation here to withhold this next attack, it should be very easy for them. And NZ taken out again by Zonda, opening it up. Rocket does manage to get the trade kill there. The Dragon Blade in Apudo's hands. Doesn't have the boost on him yet. Finds 1 kill there onto Bacon Jack. Gonna really start this one off for the side of Fireball. Self-destruct's coming in there, and K Momo picking up a triple. That's gonna hold the attack yet again. And Flash Wolves, what can Fireball do to answer this?
Well, they can start by killing Realmint, and Ninth is unlikely to get out with his life. That was the majority of Fireball's ultimates. I don't know. NZNR going on to Widow. You can't just simply snipe Zonda out. I don't think you can get away with that, really. Pudo had a pretty great run with the Dragon Blade. But this is kind of the problem I'm pointing out for Fireball, is they're so reliant on Apudo to get all these kills. I feel if he's unable to, he doesn't get the support to do that. Fireball are struggling to find a way to get into this.
I mean, when they don't have the Ana there as well, the nano boost to keep him alive, like, you know, to have that little bit of damage reduction on him, it's very easy once he gets that first or second kill for them to sort of focus him down. Pudo does switch over to the Soldier, but there is going to be the nano blade there for the side of Flash Wolves to work with, and I mean, that should be all they need, unless Zelfix hits an amazing sound barrier as they walk into this one. Going to be a biotic grenade, they're going to force Rocket back up. Ninth going to be kept by himself up here on the point. He needs some support. Where's the rest of the team? Rocket a little bit too slow there. Sound barrier up on the top lines there as Zonda just finds NZNR up in the back lines yet again. Going to be up on the point here, going to be easily dealing with this Gorilla as well. Now overtime ticking down. The side of Fireball need to get themselves on the point, but it's only squishy heroes left here. Oh, but Apudo finds himself Bacon Jack there. But look at this, the overtime's ticking. It doesn't look like Fireball are going to be able to touch this one at all.
Let me get myself some bacon.
And Flash Wolves, good 0.1 hold there. Fireball going to have to come up with something big.
Whenever you see a team just kind of completely 180 their composition like that, you know they're in for a tough run. They're resetting their ultimates, they're resetting attacking strategies. You gotta just see them clutching for straws a little bit in their sort of playstyle. Like, that's when you know a team is really kind of in trouble. And for Fireball, that kind of describes their entire attack against Flash Wolves. You kind of said it, like, what did Fireball do here? Because Nothing seemed to really work. They tried the dive. I kind of wanted to see them do a dive again and just see if they can better execute it. They really need to target Bacon Jack, I suppose. But running Inzina on the Widow was not the right idea. Again, it's not the best pick. Didn't really have that much impact there. Had a pulse bomb on Inzina's Tracer. That could have been an opening. If that landed on a particular target, if that landed on either of the DPSs or a support, or even if it killed the tank, I mean, that was definitely going to be an opening that they could have used. So throwing away that ultimate without even using it, and they're switching onto a Widowmaker that I believe didn't have any real damage output either, got shut down by Zonda every time. Probably a bad move.
That could have really worked out, though, I feel, for the side of Fireball. I mean, this is a lot of hypotheticals here, but if they, after the first couple of times where, Zonda was just really opening up NZ and R, whether he was, whichever hero he was on, actually, not Aputo, sorry, Zonda was actually finding him at the start of every fight from the get-go.
He was actually looking for him. I think he was specifically going for NZ and R. And that sort of stage, I don't even think you need to. It's okay that he did, but I think Aputo's the far bigger target for Flash Wolves to take care of. Aputo's realistically...
Wait, coming off yesterday, NZ&R was definitely the one that was sort of taking them over the edge. And I mean, we saw it there. NZ&R's down. The rest of the team just fall like dominoes.
Bacon Jack.
Oh, it's happening! It's happening! It's happening. We're going to see Bacon Jack on the Orisa. Oh, we've seen him come up, and he manages to actually get himself out onto the high ground now. Let's see what the strategy is they're going to go with here for this Orisa. All right, they are going to rethink this one. Or are they? Let's see how it goes.
They're going to go for a slope. I think if I'm going to take a guess here, they're going to take advantage of, they're going to take entire positioning on this upper battlements and just sort of camp it out.
Yeah, and they get jumped on instantly right now. The Fortify going to be used here, and Rocket gets dealt with extremely easily. And this is probably the strategy that they tried to sort of deal with when they came up against the side of Blank, and that's going to be that.
They just capped because Fireball were unable to contest whatsoever. So I didn't even see who was on the point.
It was Realman, like down there on the, Lucio just sending, sending tweets as well while it's on the point.
Yeah, he was just sitting there like, hi mum, capping, just capping Fireball, don't worry about it. That game just started and ended before I'd even know.
I was like, okay, I saw him capping there and I was like, surely someone on the side of Fireball is going to be able to jump down there. This is going to be that big triple self-destructor as the player of the game.
You like that little lip on the side of the door just protect game over? Like, that's all game over needed. But Aputo hiding under the car, that wasn't enough. Like, that didn't protect him from the bomb.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know sometimes. It's hard to tell, where are you safe, where are you not safe? It's like, if I just get behind this big wheel on the car, I'll be okay.
Surely, if you can't see the mech, it can't see you, right?
Yeah,
just look at the ground. Just look away.
Theory, yeah.
Just look down.
If I turn around, if I turn off my monitor, I'm all good.
Just cover your eyes. Nothing to see here. Well, I mean, that was extremely quickly done, though. And I mean, I'd really like that Orisa strat if you can actually get yourself out of that little choke point there.
Well, the thing is cool, you've now officially camped up on that upper battlements. Realistically, what that is you've done the same thing you would have if you had a Bastion. Now, we saw, I'm trying to remember who did it yesterday. A team did it yesterday. Was it Detonator that did it yesterday? Might have been Detonator that did it yesterday on Numbani, where they played a Bastion in the exact same spot where you put the Orisa. Technically, I think the Bastion is better. The Bastion does a lot more damage. Yeah, it doesn't have a shield, but put a Reinhardt there with a 2000 HP shield. The Bastion has a really devastating ultimate. Not that Orisa doesn't, but Orisa's ultimate is more like a team enabler ultimate versus Bastion, which is just a total threat on his own. I just don't see that Orisa strat is realistically being better than putting Bastion there in the same place. And not only you camp that upper battlement, but you still have to commit players to cap. And if you commit players to cap, those players still have to fight against players that are also on the cap, and you're also having to combat players on the opposite battlements. So it's not really just camping one side of the battlements, I feel, isn't enough. You have to still be able to find a win condition there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's exactly what they were doing there, though, going for a little bit of the polish, seeing what works for them there. Because did they run the Zarya in the first time they did it?
I really can't remember.
Because that might be sort of, I guess, maybe
first time I did it, Orisa exploded before I'd even know what happened. there was like, oh, Orisa died. Wait, they're running Orisa? That's
it was actually just 2 direct rockets to that insanely huge hitbox, and then That's all it felt like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, surely it takes more than 2 rockets
Yeah,
to kill.
it does, but more damage came through from somewhere. I don't know.
Probably Lucio.
This was before.
I want you
Lucio
to give me
was
the reaction I require.
This is before Lucio
No,
got the damage buff.
But every time I'm just going to go back to Lucio. He's just now the.
Realman has been getting a couple of kills in there.
Yeah, he's an insane Lucio. I feel he's kind of like.
He's the real deal.
He is the real deal.
He's a real man.
No, I can't. I've got nothing there. I was going to say because Crappy, you know, he is one of these sort of standout Lucio players. You know, he really helps on those flanking positions as well. You know, up in the back lines, and that's something that I think is really setting.
Because he embodies a DJ. He's really.
He's really sort of setting himself, you know, apart. You know, as these like these standout Lucio players are really setting themselves apart when they are, I guess, confident, you know, to get with their Tracer or get with the Genji, you know, get up in the back lines and be really confident to sort of try to get those those final sort of pickups on some of the squishier characters on the back lines.
Yeah, you know, RQT's been one of those Lucios as well. That's, you know, he was picking up kills before the Lucio damage buff anyway, and we sort of said a lot of Lucios you don't see them come up in the kill counter kill feed, but I'm sure they're still doing damage. But if a Lucio's consistently coming up on the kill feed like RQT was, I mean, they're consistently doing something really good with their damage. So I think it's quite telling.
I mean, coming into map number 3 now, going to be Flashful's pick again. Going to be feeling, again, very confident coming off these last 2 maps, making a very short work of Fireball, definitely dousing the flame, some would say.
Yeah.
I mean, Fireball, I don't know what they're going to be able to do to answer this one. You're going to be feeling pretty
It
demoralized
is Assault.
at this point.
It's going to be Assault next, and again, this is the map where, for any team, it's their chance to sort of have a comeback. Not every team can have that comeback. In fact, many haven't. The vast majority have not. But if any game mode teams have, it has been on Assault, and it's going to be Flashful's pick as well. So, not too sure what they're going to go for here. I feel like
Anubis.
I'm trying to remember what they've picked in the past, but
Anubis.
I have a good feeling that Volskaya might be on the table for this as well.
Oh, they actually have, yeah, they've definitely shown, I guess, a lot of strength on Volskaya. And I think
They also did beat Blank on Hanamura, so that's not out of the question either.
I think it's going to be really hard for a team like Fireball to really adapt, you know, to how a team that's so well, I guess, you know, glued together like the side of Flashful's, how they're going to be able to sort of reposition themselves, you know, countless times throughout the sort of the first point hold. I'll be very impressed if Fireball, depending on what map they pick, obviously. I mean, if it's Anubis, I do expect them to get 0.1 cap there. But if it's either of the other two, I feel that it's going to be extremely hard for Fireball to get that first cap coming into this one. If it's Volskaya, I see Flashful's definitely holding 0.1 down. They're just going to abuse the high ground.
Yeah. I think 0.1 Volskaya is actually interesting because you can still go really either way. You have to 0.1 Volskaya. You have to always give entry to the other team. Well, you don't have to, but it's very hard to hold that front choke because that big vehicle sort of blocking the way. And also because it's a kind of wide choke anyway. It's not like Hanamura where you just sit your tanks there and just have fun.
And have a soldier sitting up on the roof, you know?
You just staunch them out, you just pose and staunch them out. But
And a little Crappy putting a turret down everywhere.
Yeah, crappy turrets.
I mean, that requires so much coordination to deal with a Torbjorn, especially on Hanamura. Like, we saw it get broken
It's just
yesterday.
annoying because you have to constantly figure out where his new turrets are being set up and chase them down and then eventually deal with the molten core and all these plus 75 armors everywhere. So.
It's going to be, I guess, the real thing is that you've seen obviously teams, you know, they go in for that attack on Volskaya and they go around the backside and get that high ground control themselves, but they need something to deal with the opposite high ground.
Yeah, because that's the counter. Like, it's what if the team does that, you just go to the other side and you just play it like Numbani and you just sort of aim at each other and stare each other down from range, just like on Numbani. Obviously, defenders are happy to wait because eventually attackers have to get on the point, and that's when
You just get free fire down the middle.
Fight really has to kind of start. But it's kind of weird like that. It's interesting that Volskaya has developed into this. The first checkpoint now is just sit back as much as possible and camp that corner. Right. Well, anyway. As we get set up for map number 3, Flash Wolves are 2 up against Fireball and what could be their final opportunity in the first round robin. finishing up week 3 of the Overwatch Pacific Championship when we return. We'll see you soon. Thank you and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship. We are into week 3 and the final week of our first round robin as Flash Wolves are currently 2-up against Fireball in our very first match of the day. Now Fireball, we're about to get into Assault, which is going to be Flash Wolves' pick, but Fireball are in a bit of a tough spot. They're pretty much on the back foot here.
The back foot would be a little bit of an understatement, I feel, coming off these first 2
They've
matches.
just completely fallen on their bums.
Yeah, they've got no feet, it seems, at this point. Hopefully they can find their footing, though, coming into Assault.
Yeah.
This will be, obviously, their chance to show us, what I guess they've been able to sort of work out in that break they've just had there. Maybe they've had a little bit of time to center themselves. Apuda, obviously, in that early video there, looking like he was crying on the shoulder of one of his teammates. Not quite sure who it was there.
Maybe crying for real after this if it goes badly.
So, hopefully they do manage to work something out there and have a bit of a stronger showing on Assault. I feel that this is where the real big thing, we sort of talked about it just before, is it's purely just the team cohesion of Fireball. Their mechanical, skill, it just really comes down to, execution with the 2 teammates. We saw it in abundance there on Numbani. How often the 2 of them, the 2 tanks, were just disconnected with the rest of the team. And this is what I was sort of talking about before, was that if they managed to sort of bait Zonda into going for NZNR at the back lines, and maybe only send, Rocket in on the Winston, but keep the Diva up the back lines with them, that's when they can maybe pounce on Zonda, rather than obviously trying to go for Bacon Jack. You'd think going for Bacon Jack is the obvious choice there, but if they really try to do that, make Zonda pay for his aggressiveness, that's when I feel like Fireball can really pounce on Flash Wolves.
And so far Zonda hasn't played, we haven't seen Zonda play any soldiers or anything like that yet. Zonda's been playing those very tricky, I want to say kind of slippery DPS characters, the very mobile ones. So he has been a little bit harder to shut down. Bacon Jack, I don't think have we seen Bacon Jack on Soldier before today? I'm not actually too sure about that. So that's been a sort of a new change up as well, but a really
He's usually just been Tracer, eh?
He's usually Tracer, and what else has he really played? Tracer. Just mainly Tracer.
And
like
Tracer.
90% Tracer.
Well, we are getting into Volskaya Industries, going to be Flash Wolves' pick there. This might be where we get to see Zonda go back on the Soldier, and maybe we get to see our boy Bacon Jack
Might even see
up
Zonda
the
and
Tracer.
McCree. I think it's possible as well. You know what? They could even keep what they had
McCree
before.
Soldier?
They can even keep Bacon Jack on the Soldier again, and then put Zonda onto Genji still, and that would be effective. What they did in Numbani on defense in particular worked really well, and like I said, first checkpoint Volskaya currently kind of just plays like first checkpoint Numbani anyway, so they kind of repeat their strategy a little bit, play it as if they're playing Numbani. I feel like the same sort of tactics would work against a team like Fireball, who have already failed to sort of address attacking Numbani properly.
Well, I hope Fireball don't go for another Widowmaker pick here. That's going to be very... I feel it's going to be extremely hard for them to pull off if, an NZNR goes on the Widowmaker,
no good
especially
angles
on this.
either.
Exactly that. So, maybe you can get into that sort of, just part the little window up to the right of the choke. Might work out well for them. Maybe you could, maybe if he sort of goes delayed, maybe goes around the outside and gets the control of the other high ground, that might be that might work for them.
That should be Fireball's entire goal, is to get control of whichever is the attacking team. If the defensive team has taken control of the high ground of the main house, then the other team just does the opposite on the other side, and that's when you have a little brawl go on. So I think that's just the standard anyway for both teams to just do that now. That's kind of how Volskaya gets played.
No, I just mean if they do manage to get the Widow up there, that could actually work out for them. Rather than saying like Widow's not the pick for it, it's really just can they get positioning that they require. But I guess having Widow there is going to be extremely hard for them to get that position on the left side platform or the right side platform. To be frank, they're really going to have to. I guess the best chance they have, in my opinion, is probably putting NZNR on the Tracer, Apudo on Genji, and just go full dive and try to take out Bacon Jack if he is the Soldier, or if it's Zonda on the Soldier. And
the other way you can play against a hold up on that sort of back area, that upper back area, is completely flanking and taking the stairs up on the back towards the defender spawn as well. So for a dive team, there are a few options for how you want to be able to take that. It's I guess dive for Fireball I still think is the way to go. Not necessarily because it's the best composition for going up against the kind of defense I'm expecting out of Flash Wolves, but because it's what is most effective for Fireball as a team. They've had the most success out of Dive, and I feel like everything else they've run has been kind of hit or miss.
I mean, just coming into the series, though, I think we haven't really seen Apudo on the McCree. So, I mean, maybe putting Apudo on McCree might be, I guess, what they might be looking for coming into this, maybe doing a little bit of a change-up, but I mean, it doesn't really work out too well with how they've been playing tonight here.
Sinclair is actually going to play the Soldier. So Bacon Jack's, so that's the other hero. Bacon Jack has played a bit of Sombra. It's not like a crazy amount of Sombra, but
oh, there it is. Fireball going for that dive comp there. It's going to be Apudo on the Genji and Enzid now on the Tracer. Oh my goodness, I was right. It's a problem when that happens.
I'll pat you on the back on that one.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Feels good, man. But getting straight into this one, no one actually controlling the high ground at all. Gonna be the Genji versus Genji. Apudo comes out on top of this one. Sinclair, though, finding that kill onto Zelfix. So one support down there for the side of Fireball. And now with Apudo being taken out there as well. Sinclair doing a good job here on the Soldier, opening this one up. Bacon Jack already got the EMP to work with. Is he gonna commit it into this fight? Doesn't even look like he's gonna need to, but he will use it. No worries indeed. And this should be Flash Wolves just cleaning this one up.
Probably didn't need to use it. I think Fireball backing out anyway. Only got himself an additional kill. So, yeah, it kind of works and it kind of doesn't work. If you're going to run a Sombra strategy, their Flash Wolves are going to brawl on the ground. They're not going to take any of the high positioning. They want to control all the health packs. And that's exactly what they're doing here. So, we have actually seen Flash Wolves do this before, and it was very effective back then. And so far, it has still been effective now. They just have to, Fireball just have to not waste too much time here in terms of working against the EMP. That's the time that's really important they have to consider. Make sure that they push when Bacon Jack does not have an EMP up.
Well, Apudo needs to get the power of the Dragon up ASAP. They do have the Nano Boost to work with, and Bacon Jack going to have that EMP up again, though, into this next fight. Enzid now trying to pressure out Sinclair. Needs to find this kill over here as well. Healing Circle going to be going down. Does have Apudo to back him up as well. If they do manage to find this kill, this might be the opening they need, as Rocket manages to take down Jongi over the other side. Sinclair falls down there as well. Zonda, though, does manage to take down Curlis. Not before the Nano Boost comes out into this one. Apudo almost got the blade there. Rocket falling before he gets the Primal Rage up as well. Flash Wolves doing a good job at cleaning this one up. A lot of this is going to be on these DPS characters to finish it up. Ninth going to be probably pressured out here as well, since he has no teammates to help him out on the point. And Flash Wolves going to be holding on to this one. Enzid should not be able to find much here at all, except the blade of Zonda.
And that's the thing for Fireball so far is, although Apudo got the kills as Genji, Zonda got more kills. He got significantly more kills, including a kill onto Apudo. So they haven't, for what seems like 2.5 maps now, including this one, unable to find an answer to Zonda in any shape or form. 5 or 4 ultimates in line for Flash Wolves, and you know, Bacon Jack's on 50%. That's going to be 100 pretty soon because it's EMP.
It feels like the side of Fireball are generally one fight behind. You know, they sort of work out what they're doing, come into the next fight, and try to deal with what happened in the last fight. They're not so good at adjusting on the fly here. Ninth losing the mech already. He should be quick to fall here as well. And indeed
what
he is.
Yeah, that's a snipe.
Zonda just finds him so very easily. They got the Dragon Blade up for himself now to work with. They're probably are they gonna be waiting for another Nano Boost before they try to commit into this fight now?
They're going to have to wait for Ninth, actually. They've lost an entire tank. This is going to be extremely difficult for Fireball to actually commit into.
No, Apudo goes straight for the Dragon Blade.
They're still going to go for it.
And he just gets absolutely demolished there as well. Jongi just finding him there with the lightning of the gods, it seems. And now Rocket going to be getting pushed back here as well. Can't be hitting the Primal Rage as the EMP is ready again here for Bacon Jack. And now Flash Wolves just cleaning up the side of Fireball. Rocket just trying to rocket pack himself away, keep himself alive, and both of the tanks do manage to keep themselves up in this one. Apudo switching over to the Hog, see if they can find something with this.
That's going to be the answer to Zonda, but he has to be able to land the Hogs, but 20 seconds left to go. It's almost another case of Fireball now changing up their composition within the final few moments. There's no way there's going to be a whole Hog coming online in time for this. The Nano Boost on for Rocket. He needs to get a lot of targets. Already losing instant on one of the DPSs. In comes the EMP as well. Zonda slashes away on the back line, and I see no way for Fireball to get in this.
Oh, I mean, there's the hook.
Zonda does get killed by
a little bit of a consolation there for Apudo's confidence, but again, Flash Wolves holding down at point number 1.
That was tough. That was super tough for Fireball.
I mean, I love that defense coming up from Flash Wolves. I know we've seen it before, but it's looking a lot more polished. I mean, maybe it's just because they're coming up against Fireball, but they really are so good at sort of repositioning themselves there. You know, it's so hard for them to track the Sombra.
Well, this is the thing. Really, the way they needed to play against that was to regroup as quickly as possible and re-attack as quickly as possible and deny the EMP's effectiveness. Sombra without the EMP, in fact, just Sombra in general, kind of feels a little bit lackluster. There's two things you have to consider when playing against a Sombra composition, is that half of their healing is entirely dependent on the health packs. So that's something that's exploitable due to the fact that you have to, there's only the 2 health packs that are really effective here, that you can see them here on the screen right now, on the right and in the middle. If you control those spaces, the enemy team aren't going to be able to just run in there and be able to freely take a health pack without engaging you in a fight. And if you can find the time to engage a fight before the EMP comes into play, because it does come in quite quickly, but it's not instant. There are downtimes, and you have to be able to find a fight during those downtimes. I don't think Fireball had a single sort of period where they actually took a fight during the downtime of the EMP, and that was kind of a mistake there as well. Just the kind of speediness and the quickness of how they regroup and re-go for those attacks, that there was too much delay there.
I mean, Fireball almost struggling to sort of, you know, prioritize their targets, let alone be able to read into the side of Flash Wolves and see, you know, how the ultimates are sort of being spent there, how much work Bacon Jack's getting done, you know, how much damage they're trading into, you know, the side of Flash Wolves being able to pick up those health packs and build up the EMP yet again. So I think you make an extremely good point there. As a lot of those fights are just not really timed correctly. Is this going to be Zondra actually sticking on the Hanzo?
Double sniper and then still a Sombra. So I think it's experimental day for Flash Wolves. They're thinking, let's just try everything out.
Why not? And I mean, the hook comes in there from K-Momo. Going to be picking up the mech on 9th as well.
I'm surprised 9th didn't either took so much damage, he just lost the mech straight away, or didn't have the flyaway on cooldown.
And I mean, nice positioning there for Zonda to sort of come up through that high ground there, and he has K-Momo around the back side. And this Hanzo is actually working out very well for them indeed. They managed to sort of pinpoint a lot of these players due to the Sonic Arrow, and now Zonda with all the teammates here as well, just getting to sort of free fire indeed, picking up that kill there, and that's going to be all she wrote. Flash Wolves taking the series 3-0 very, very, very quickly.
And we didn't even see an EMP. They didn't
But
even
we did see a Hanzo.
I almost feel like Zonda didn't hit that many shots. He could have a couple of shots in there. He got the one kill at the end, but realistically, that all won off the back of kill momentum. They got the initial hook on the 9th. Apudo went for the counter hook, missed it. So if Pudo had maybe hit that counter hook, that could have kind of made a difference. I don't think Sinclair got a kill on the winner either, so realistically I think it was just good team play and understanding, look, we got an initial pick here, convert that into a second pick. Kurlos on the Ana as well in that sort of upper, that control room area, got picked out straight away. And not even by Zonda. Zonda flailed around for a long time. He was just kind of shooting arrows everywhere, but not really hitting Kurlos at all, but the tanks cleaned him up. So they were just able to find and pick targets one by one, and it doesn't even matter that the composition wasn't really geared for anything in particular. They just
played the pick game and got it done.
Team
got the frags, got the bags.
It's just, that's really all it was. It's kind of heartbreaking for Fireball, because I feel like Fireball needed to, there's no way they didn't identify that composition. If they can see a composition like that, you want to beat a Hanzo, just dive on the guy. Hanzo does nothing to you at close range. They could have easily have dived on the entire composition. They're running a Widow, a Hanzo, a Sombra.
I feel Flash Wolves just went full pub. They just went full pub in that last game.
Yeah, but like, yeah, they kind of did, because where's their real damage? The damage is so inconsistent. If Fireball knew what they were up against, they could have completely dived on top of Flash Wolves, just consolidated on top of them. That should have been a hold, well, it should have been at least a fight win, a team fight win for Fireball. I don't know about a hold, because, you know, Flash Wolves would go and readjust their composition, and they would have had to, but I'm kind of concerned that worked for them. Kind of concerned that Flash Wolves actually got away with that.
Well, I felt that Fireball had sort of maybe, I mean, it's horrible to say really, but possibly it looked like they'd given up at that point, and that's what sort of let them down there. If they sort of had that same, if they had that same intensity, I felt like they were going to make Flash Wolves pay for sort of being so cocky on that offense there, sort of running that composition. But I mean, Flash Wolves obviously executed it very well as on top of that. And I mean, K-Momo as well getting up on the back lines, right behind them as well. They actually did sort of what we talked about before going into Volskaya there. You know, they actually controlled both of the high grounds. And that was exactly what Fireball were trying to do. They were trying to do that basic control both high grounds, you know, whichever side the teams go for, we just run to the other one. But, I mean, Flash Wolves have seen this time and time again, and they know exactly how to deal with it.
It might not even have worked if Flash Wolves didn't get the initial hook, but I feel like the hook would have come in eventually somewhere, that someone would have got picked out eventually. That's all they really needed. Again, like, I think 3 out of the 6 of the hero picks in that last Flash Wolves composition really didn't do anything, but they still managed to just get the win anyway. I don't want to read into too much because I understand realistically Flash Wolves just kind of picked, I guess, a troll composition or just like a pubby kind of composition just to kind of laugh it out for the final.
Have a bit of fun with that one. But I mean, it's going to be a pretty good warm up there for Flash Wolves. You know, they've got their a big match coming up next. They're going to be Flash Wolves taking on Hong Kong Attitude, and I personally cannot wait for this one. This is going to be
it should be good.
So tight.
It's a Hong Kong Attitude that's gone to a Game 5 against both AHQ and Blank. I don't think Flash Wolves can afford to underestimate Hong Kong Attitude.
I don't think they are underestimating them.
At all, and definitely not like they just did to Fireball, so that's not going to be a repeat. I'm hoping it's not going to be a repeat. I don't think it will either. That being said, Hong Kong Attitude on Friday night did still make a decent number of mistakes that I pointed out, so we'll have to see what they've done about that, if they're going to be able to, if they're going to repeat any more mistakes like that, if they're going to clean up a little bit. I think they need to play somewhat cleaner against Flash Wolves, because Flash Wolves so far didn't look like they let anything go against Fireball for the most part, whereas Blank did also make a reasonable amount of mistakes on Friday as well, which Hong Kong Attitude did a fairly good job of taking advantage of, but at the same time, they would have had a much better time. I think Hong Kong Attitude had the possibility of actually winning that match had they not made a decent number of mistakes themselves.
I think the other thing to sort of note there, I mean, you talked about, was that the first time we've seen Bacon Jack on the Soldier? And
I can't remember now. I'm trying to remember if we've seen him on there before, but it doesn't surprise me that he plays it anyway. It's you would, if you have 2 DPS players, just makes sense that they would both play.
And you see Sinclair as well, though, going on to Soldier at the end there as well. So I think that they've come off that loss against Blank quite hard, and they're really trying to sort of shake up, I guess, the hero pool depth, in a lot of their players.
You don't want your other support to play the DPS. You want your flex tank to play the DPS.
And so I think that now that Flash Wolves have sort of worked this out, because that's one of the things that Hong Kong Attitude had going for them very well, coming into the series, was that they can play triple DPS. Maybe, to at least my knowledge before seeing what we've seen here tonight, more so than what Flash Wolves could. They relied a lot on Zonda and Bacon Jack, sort of running 2-2-1 compositions or triple tank. So now I think this is where Flash Wolves are really going to come into their element, but we do have the interview coming up, so let's see what Flash Wolves have to say.
我是 Realment 311。
好，恭喜你们刚刚赢得这场比赛。第一个问题呢，其实要问到是，其实你在队上是最资深，而且国际赛经验是非常的丰富。但是你的角色为什么不是当主控，而是当 support 呢？
其实因为路修这个角色，没有什么人会想要花心思在练这个角色上面。
是这样。
那加上其实我的队友都非常的出色，所以我会选择让他们打在场上更有影响力的位置。
哦，那因为你的经验比较丰富嘛，那在战术上的调配，你会跟大家怎么样去沟通呢？
其实我主要是扮演一个稳定军心的角色，对，然后在检讨的时候会比较给他们多一点的意见，对，让他们有多一点的想法，这样子。会
适时的称赞他们，还是他们在做不好的时候会就比较严厉一点吗？
其实严厉一点的话，主要都是中打，对，我是负责当白脸。
好，这是爆料的时候嘛，对不对？他都会怎么样？就是修理队友们。
就说哦，你们真的很废。
我等一下可能会去访问他。好，那我想问一下说，在路修这样改版之后，你自己喜不喜欢？有什么样的评价呢？
我觉得还蛮好玩的啊，比以前的存在感高了不少。
以前存在感很低吗？
以前就是你可能一边看电视一边打都不会有人发现这样子。
怎么听起来有点心酸呢？好啦，恭喜你，也谢谢你接受我们的访问。现场我们先休息一下，再进段广告。
I think the first question was essentially like, why are you playing Lucio? He says, you know, like, I guess he's just more comfortable in the support role. He likes to be able to, the way he communicates with the team as well, he likes to be able to sort of support with the ideas as well and support with the comms. And I think one of the other questions was, who's really vocal on your team? He says Zonda was actually extremely vocal. And Zonda, and she's like, the hostess says, what kind of stuff does Zonda say? He's like, Zonda says, oh, you guys were really bad. And like, why did you do that? Like just really aggressive stuff.
Goes back to that question at the start. You know, Zonda, have you met any good players? No, not even my teammates.
And then it was, what do you think of the new Lucio changes to what Realment says? Well, previously on Lucio, if you were shooting someone, they wouldn't even notice. But now you can actually get kills.
It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. DPS Lucio. Heard it there first from the boy Realment.
So that's pretty much it. There you go. Congratulations, Flash Wolves, for a 3-0 victory against Fireball. Unfortunately for Fireball, that's going to be their final game in the first round robin. We'll see how they do next week as we start round robin number 2. But don't go away, because when we come back, it's going to be Flash Wolves taking on Hong Kong Attitude. That's going to be a sick match. We'll see you soon.